You wouldn't expect a trade policy to empty out car dealerships. But that's exactly what's happening.
Are you worried about the tariffs making it more expensive?
Absolutely. It's going to be ridiculous. So we're going to wait and ride the storm out?
Across America, consumers are hesitating. Dealerships are cutting staff. German auto giants, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, are pulling out. $45 billion in trade vanished. 2,500 U.S. suppliers lost contracts. And yet, Trump declared victory. He said, "If you don't build here, you can't sell here." Well, they left. And what they took wasn't just cars, it was jobs, exports, and trust. Factories in Alabama and South Carolina have gone quiet. The world's most admired automakers are now retooling in China. Tonight, we expose how Trump's tariffs may have protected no one and empowered America's biggest rival instead. It wasn't just a tariff, it was a signal. Trump's 25% levy on imported vehicles and up to 200% on parts wasn't introduced through trade talks or international summits. It was dropped in a single post. No warning, no preparation. Ford, German automakers, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, the message was brutal. Build here or leave. BMW had invested $14 billion in its Spartanburg, South Carolina plant over 3 decades. The facility became America's largest auto exporter by value, shipping over 225,000 vehicles abroad each year. And yet, all of it came undone in weeks. BMW's CEO had once said,
"We create 120,000 jobs in the United States. This is our second home."
But when tariffs hit, that second home was the first to go. Suddenly, every imported component, engines from Germany, dashboards from Slovakia, chips from Mexico, became a liability. Companies couldn't raise prices fast enough to offset the new costs, and absorbing the losses would mean bleeding billions per year. So they pulled the plug. BMW began scaling back in South Carolina. Mercedes halted expansion in Alabama. Audi, fully dependent on imports, froze plans to grow in the U.S. altogether. Dealers were blindsided, warehouses filled with unsold inventory. And for workers on the ground, there was no transition plan, only layoffs. The S&P global forecast slashed 1.2 million units from next year's U.S. car sales projections. The market, once stable, was now considered volatile. The same volatility that German CEOs cited when shifting investment elsewhere. This wasn't about patriotism anymore. It was about math. And the math said, get out. The message Trump sent, loud and clear, had consequences that echoed far beyond Washington. Up next, where those automakers fled and why their billions are now flowing into Beijing instead of Birmingham. When German automakers packed up and left, they didn't go home. They went east. Within weeks of the tariff announcement, Chinese officials extended a quiet invitation. Our doors are open to you. And Germany listened. Mercedes-Benz shifted its next-generation electric vehicle platform, originally planned for the U.S., to China. BMW announced a major new production hub in Chengdu, not South Carolina. Audi expanded design operations in Shanghai and Shenzhen, citing lower political risk and stronger market growth. It was a colder move than anyone expected. These were companies that had spent decades building trust in the U.S. market, now redirecting billions in investment to a rival superpower. And this wasn't just a corporate shuffle, it was strategic. The Chinese government is betting big on becoming the world's EV leader. By pulling in top German engineering, they gain not just factories but technology, talent, and prestige. What was meant to punish foreign car makers has turned into a recruitment plan, written by accident, signed by America, and cashed by China. Meanwhile, U.S. consumers get the worst of both worlds. Higher prices for what remains and fewer choices as luxury brands exit the market. And it doesn't stop at showrooms. EV startups in the U.S. now face even tougher competition as China accelerates its timeline with German partners. What once could have been a U.S.-EU innovation alliance is now becoming a China-Germany tech bloc, and it's happening fast. Analysts from the Financial Times report that Mercedes and BMW are withdrawing long-term forecasts because the U.S. market is simply too unstable. Their CFOs cite not only tariffs, but the impossibility of predicting U.S. political decisions. The question is no longer why they left. It's whether they'll ever return. And while Trump doubled down with America First, his tariffs may have done the opposite. They pushed away allies and strengthened adversaries, economically, technologically, and strategically. Coming up, the untold damage inside America's own economy, from workers to small businesses to entire supply chains unraveling. When BMW and Mercedes left, they didn't just take their logos. They took an entire ecosystem with them. Behind every luxury car on U.S. roads was a network of 2,500 American companies, from parts suppliers and logistics firms to marketing agencies and tech startups. When the German giants withdrew, so did the contracts. According to industry analysts, many of these small and medium-sized businesses have either downsized or gone bankrupt. BMW's Spartanburg plant had created an economic halo, 11,000 direct jobs, and tens of thousands more supported across the Southeast. It was the largest BMW plant in the world, exporting 225,000 vehicles worth over $10 billion annually, making it America's top auto exporter by value. Now, that title is gone. And it's not just BMW. Mercedes-Benz Tuscaloosa facility sustained 4,000 jobs, while VW's Chattanooga plant added thousands more. These were long-term commitments built on trust and shared prosperity. That trust was shattered the moment tariffs struck. The Financial Times revealed that Volkswagen, once hopeful about expanding in the U.S., had to abandon plans altogether after Trump's Tariff Liberation Day. S&P Global now expects 1.2 million fewer cars to be sold in the U.S. next year. Entire projections for growth have been wiped out. Worse yet, the tariffs didn't stop at cars. Imported parts like engines, electronics, and digital dashboards, many sourced from Mexico, Slovakia, or China, are now taxed up to 200%, breaking the back of just-in-time production. Even U.S. brands are feeling the ripple effects. And while Trump insisted this move would force companies to build here or leave, industry leaders push back.
Production is not something that could change from a day to the other.
And for many, it couldn't switch at all. Auto insurance is rising. Replacement parts are delayed. And even consumers not buying new cars are paying more on maintenance, repairs, and premiums. This wasn't a surgical strike. It was a chain reaction implosion. Next, we examine the political illusion. Was this really about jobs, or just a costly message wrapped in patriotism? On paper, this was a win for America. Trump's administration framed it as a bold stand. No more foreign brands exploiting U.S. markets without giving back. His message was clear: if you don't produce here, you can't sell here. It played well on campaign stages, where slogans echoed louder than statistics. But behind the scenes, the reality was messy, German automakers weren't just shipping in cars. They were investing billions, employing tens of thousands, and turning American soil into an export powerhouse. BMW's Spartanburg plant alone contributed over $100 billion in exports since 2014. Mercedes and VW had similar footprints. These weren't freeloaders. They were deeply embedded players in the U.S. economy, yet they were treated like threats. And that's where the illusion took root. The belief that forcing companies to localize by tariff or threat would spark a domestic manufacturing boom. But it didn't. Because supply chains don't move on slogans. They move on trust, infrastructure, and stability. Even U.S. manufacturers weren't cheering. Ford, GM, and Tesla rely on global parts too. The new tariffs raised their costs, strained their timelines, and inflamed their insurance and compliance risks. What was meant to protect them may, in fact, hurt them just the same. So, was this really about protecting American workers? Or was it about headlines, about appearing tough while the ground beneath factories crumbled? As the Mercedes CEO said bluntly, there's always one way or another to adjust. But volatility? That's what tests us. Coming up next, the coldest twist: how Germany's exit turned into a betrayal of the very American towns they once called home. In South Carolina, it happened quietly. One by one, the parking lots at BMW's Spartanburg plant emptied. Shift schedules disappeared. Cafeterias closed early. No press release. No ceremony. Just silence. Over 11,000 jobs. Gone. In Alabama, it wasn't much different. Mercedes-Benz had anchored Tuscaloosa for decades, assembling luxury SUVs that carried Made in America labels around the world. Today, those assembly lines have gone still. Some workers were reassigned. Most were let go. Local suppliers felt it next. Machine shops, tool and die vendors, textile outfits producing seat fabric, all shuttered or cut staff. One chain snapped and the rest unraveled. And it wasn't just employment, it was identity. These plants weren't just workplaces. They were economic anchors, the pride of towns long overlooked by Wall Street or Washington. But that second home was abandoned. What made it worse? The investments didn't stop, they just moved. To China. German brands are now pouring billions into Chinese EV facilities. Cities like Chengdu and Shenzhen are seeing new hiring booms, new tech hubs, funded by capital that once flowed into the American South. That's the colder move. Not just leaving, but reinvesting in arrival. And for the workers in Spartanburg and Tuscaloosa, there's no easy replacement. A line job at a global automaker doesn't translate to retail or gig work. These aren't just lost jobs. They're lost futures. Next, we return to the showroom floor, to the buyers, because the final cost of this tariff war isn't measured in billions. It's measured in the everyday choices Americans are now forced to make. Trump said the tariffs would bring jobs home, but what they brought was chaos. Factories shut down. German investment fled to China. And now, average Americans, whether buying a new car or just trying to repair an old one, are footing the bill. Even those who never set foot in a BMW showroom are feeling the squeeze. Higher insurance, pricier parts, longer wait times. All for a policy that was supposed to protect them. Meanwhile, China gains market share, German companies adapt, and American workers are left with pink slips and promises. So we ask, was this a strategic stand or a self-inflicted wound? And more importantly, who's really paying for this version of America First? Let us know in the comments. And if this story hits home, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.